Before we get too far into the video, I did just want to remind you guys that you can still use my creator code on both the EA app and thesims.com. Currently, there is a huge sale on loads of Sims DLCs. I think I saw a City Living for like 50% off or something, but if you are in the market for a new pack, I feel like now is a really good time to get your hands on it. If you use code Jessicapie at checkout, it helps support me and my channel and all the builds that I make, as I do earn a small commission fee from your purchase. A big thank you to everyone who has used my code so far. It is just so lovely to think that you thought of me when purchasing your Sims packs, and so yeah, thank you so much. But because I mentioned this, I did just want to say that this portion of the video is sponsored by Electronic Arts. But anyway, let's get into the video. Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel and welcome back to my Sims 4 speedrunning video, or welcome to the channel if you're new here. So in today's video, I'm going to be building in the world of Ciudad Enamorada, which is the world that we got from the expansion pack Sims 4 Lovestruck, and I'm going to be building a artist penthouse apartment using one of the new kits that just came out yesterday, which was the Sims 4 Artist Studio kit. So this lot ends up having 2 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms, and it's built on, surprisingly, a 20 by 15 lot. Honestly, I had to check the build details 3 separate times because this doesn't look like the smallest lot in the game, but no, this is built on a 20 by 15, I promise you. But this week, like I just said, we got 2 new kits this Sims 4. We got the Storybook Nursery kit, and then we got the Artist Studio kit. And I just basically wanted to come in and do a build more so focused on the Artist Studio kit, and build something for a Sim who's a proper creative. They love painting, they love candle making, woodworking, like anything creative in the game. I made myself like a little checklist, and I made sure to include it in the build somewhere. And yeah, overall, I'm so happy and honestly really proud of this build and the way it came together and the way it turned out. And so I really hope you like it as well. But anyway, moving on from that and getting on and talking a little bit more about the build itself and also what I'm doing right now. So as you can see, I've already come in and built the whole main structure for the build. I've done some wallpapering, I placed down a staircase in the front portion, and I've also just placed down 2 different roofs with a glass roof pattern. Now in this build, there ends up being a greenhouse on the downstairs. It's very short and sweet, you know, your Sims can grow all different types of flowers and herbs and vegetables and stuff. I decided to plant, purposefully, berries on the inside of the greenhouse because when I was building this, I had this idea that maybe the Sim that lives in this penthouse, maybe they grow all these different types of strawberries and blueberries and raspberries and they use it as paint, which, I mean, that does sound a little bit weirder than what I thought it might sound, because I must admit I did have this thought probably about 3:30 this morning, but I like this idea of maybe the Sim that lives in this penthouse, they're quite eco-conscious and they care about the environment, and sometimes they don't want to use acrylic paints, they don't want to use watercolour, and so they've got this little greenhouse, and maybe sometimes once in a blue moon they might do like an art collection, or maybe they've got like a series and they paint all these different things using like Mother Nature, using all these different berries that they grow. I just thought that was a really lovely idea. But as well as that, in this penthouse, the whole entire 3rd floor, I tried to purposely make into almost like a dream studio for any kind of artist. Now, like I already mentioned, this penthouse ends up having 2 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms, but when I was building it, I kind of had this idea that maybe this penthouse used to have 3 bedrooms and the whole 3rd floor used to be almost like the master suite, you know. You used to have a massive bedroom up there with a big glass window, had a walk-in wardrobe, had an ensuite bathroom, even had like a nice little lounge space outside of their bedroom. But since then, this artist has come and bought this penthouse apartment and they've transformed that 3rd floor into their dream studio. So you walk upstairs, you've got this little hallway area. I placed down like a computer desk, I placed down the jeweler's bench, bookcase, plant in the corner, like random bits and bobs. And then you walk through this archway, and that is where the artist studio pretty much is. We have art easels in there, we've got blank canvases, we've got painted canvases, we've got so many different random bits and bobs. So I placed down like random paintbrushes and paint cans, and I even placed down things that you can't necessarily paint with, but I feel like sometimes when people make art, they might use. And so randomly, I placed down hammers and tape measures. Maybe this Sim, every once in a while, maybe like to chuck a hammer at a canvas or something. But also in that room as well, in the glass roof bit, if you're curious, it's functional. Your Sims can go into that little glass roof room. Now, when I was building, I more so wanted to place down the glass roof as kind of like the ultimate lighting for an artist studio, because you think about whenever you want to paint something, you want to have good lighting, you want to be able to see what you're doing. And so I thought, well, having a glass roof like that, ideal. You've got so much natural daylight coming in, and if you want to paint from reference, you have got so much stuff to look at. You can paint from reference so many different times over. But in this room as well, when I was decorating it, I was thinking, I feel like I could probably play about with it a little bit and see if I could actually get it to be functional. And so you'll see. I ended up placing down some clutter pieces for purely decoration in there. I placed down some like old vases, some sculptures, some busts, some like flowers and like random bits and bobs. But then I also placed down some garden planters and then also a little armchair which your Sims can both interact with. I have pre-planted the planters because with the glass roof, my Sim couldn't actually plant them, but I popped them out, got her to plant them, popped them back in, and it's fun. Your Sims can interact with them, they can water them and stuff. But yeah, your Sims can sit on a little armchair in that room and maybe read a book, maybe have a cup of coffee or something. But then also in the artist studio bit, we have a little archway, and that goes into what I imagine used to be the walk-in wardrobe. But now I've made it into a part candle making room and part woodworking room. So in there, I must admit, it is very small. I imagine it used to be a walk-in wardrobe. Like, it's not going to be huge, but it is very small. But I mean, your Sims can do 2 different activities, gain 2 different types of skills from that room alone. So I placed down the woodworking table in one corner. I then also placed down some like tools by it. I placed down like random tape measures and random pencils that look like they've been lost. And then on the other wall, I placed down the little candle making station that we got from the Eco Lifestyle expansion pack. And then I popped on some fabric dyes. I placed down some like random candles that I imagine that the Sim previously had made. And then just tried to make it feel all cutesy in there. But I imagine it used to be a walk-in wardrobe. And then off that, we have a door which goes into the second bathroom in this house. Now, the second bathroom, it has got a bathtub, a toilet and a sink. But I purposely made it so the bathtub is not going to function. Now, I know that sounds very strange to say, the fact that I purposely made it so it's not going to function. To be fair, I did try my luck and I did try and get my playtester Sim to have a bath. Wasn't going to happen, but basically the idea that I've got, there is this bathtub in what used to be the ensuite bathroom. The Sim that lives in this penthouse, they don't need that bathtub. They've got a bathroom downstairs, their bedroom's downstairs. That bathroom is basically a dumping ground for all of their different paint supplies. And so if your Sims, if they're in the studio and they need a wee, they're sorted, they're fine, they have that. But the bathtub, I purposely placed down all these different dirty paintbrushes and paint cans and paint buckets and just loads of different stuff that over time you kind of accumulate if you have an artist Sim. So they kind of just like dumped it into the bathtub. And then also from the new kit, we've got this one rug and it seems to be all these different paint splatters. What I did is I sized it down and then raised it up, and I made it look like over time there is like dried up crusty paint on the inside of the bathtub. It honestly, it's a small detail, but I love it so much. But yeah, that is the only one thing in this whole entire penthouse apartment that does not function, or it does not work. But I kind of did it on purpose for like the realism purposes. I mean, if you really wanted to, all you've got to do is just delete the clutter that is inside of the bathtub, and then it will function. But yeah, I mean, I did try my luck, like I said, when I was playtesting, but yeah, no, it wasn't going to happen. I had massive paint cans in there, so there was no way that my Sim was going to be able to have a bath. But either way, moving over, as you can see, I have pretty much figured out the majority of the window placements now for the build. I did struggle a little bit with the window placements because where it's an artist's penthouse apartment, I wanted there to be so much natural daylight, which, by the way, can I just say, the screenshots for this build, they're just so beautiful because where there does end up being so many different windows, the lighting is just, it's absolute chef kiss. But I finally figured out the majority of the different window placements, and I also decided to pop on some ivy in some little areas of the build. Currently, as you can see, I'm now coming in and furnishing the main bedroom's balcony. So over here, as you can see, I finally started to pull out some new stuff that we got from the art studio kit, which one of the things is this new art easel. We only surprisingly got one new art easel. I don't know what it was, but I just expected that maybe we'd get 2 or 3 new ones in the kit. Don't get me wrong, really like it. It's very like used, love that, but I don't know, I just thought we would get maybe like 2 or 3 different art easels. But we got one physical art easel that your Sims would actually have a canvas on, and then we also got one of them digital sketch pads. I popped down one of them sketch pads into the lounge room, but on the balcony I placed down a little art easel. I placed down this little side table next to it. If you've never seen that before, that's not from the kit. It is a base game unlockable if your Sims are in the artist career, but I placed that down, and then you would have seen as well on top of it, I placed down a bottle of wine, and then I wanted there to be a wine glass because I'm thinking the sim that lives in this apartment, they're grown. You know, they're an artist, they are living their best life. They're probably racking it in. They've got so much money. You probably would have to have a lot of money to live here because it's not exactly, it's built on a small lot, but it's not exactly a small penthouse. But I imagine that the sim that lives here, they're doing pretty well for themselves. And, you know, sometimes when they like to paint, they like to have a glass of wine. And so I did pull out a wine glass that we got from Debug, but over time, I'm pretty sure that wine glass will spoil, and so I decided to place down a mug instead. Maybe they've had a mug of wine instead. I mean, in all fairness, in the game, we don't have any glassware clutter. We've got like plates, we've got bowls, we've got, you know, like random pots and pans that you can like shove into your kitchens, but we only have mugs. We don't have any like, you know, water glasses or whatever you drink a soft drink out of, or wine glasses. I would love a pint. If we could have like little pint decorations. I feel like that was a missed opportunity with the Get Together expansion pack. But yeah, where we don't have any, I just placed down a mug. But anyway, moving over, as you can see, I'm now coming in and decorating the downstairs patio area. Now out here, I tried to shove as much as I could possible onto this outside space. We end up having some more planters. So you've got some planters on the inside, you've got some on the outside, you've got some on the balcony. But then we also end up having like a little barbecue area, a seating area. We have an outdoor bar. I also placed down 2 different drinks trays. One of them we got from the Riviera Retreat kit. It's some sort of like minty drink, I believe, of memory. And then we also got a drinks tray from the For Rent expansion pack. I placed that down by some sun lounges, but then also on the outside I ended up placing down a little like fire pit area. I placed down a invisible dance floor. Must admit, it's something that I kind of completely forget that we've even got in the catalogue, but we first got introduced from a dance floor with the Get Together expansion pack, but they were always so big, just really hard to place down into builds. And recently we got a Party Essentials kit, and it gave us an invisible dance floor. So if you would have seen, I placed down something that was kind of like, it looked like tape and it was invisible on the inside of it. Basically, in live mode, however you say it, I say both because I never know which one to say. But when you're in gameplay, basically that disappears and your Sims can just click on the floor, even if there's no music playing, and they can just dance. But also plays down at some music stations and then just loads of random stuff, random bits and bobs. And then also, and I did decide to cut it out because I had a right faff trying to figure out what to do with it. But behind on like the back patio bit, I had this bit of space and I wanted to try and use all the space that I was given. Where I am building on a 20 by 15, I just tried to shove as much stuff in as possible. And so in the end, you might be able to see it as I spin the camera, but I end up placing down a hot tub. And so if your Sims want to, of an evening, they could finish painting something and then pop downstairs, put their swimsuit on, have a glass of wine, and yeah, just go and have a little soak in the hot tub. But it's on the back bit, so your Sims will kind of walk in through the front door, and then pretty much immediately there is a side door and it kind of goes out to the back patio. But I spent like 20 minutes real time trying to figure out what I was going to do with it, and I was placing down stuff that I'd already had, and I just had this thought of, well, it actually looks like the perfect placement for a hot tub, and yeah, I just ended up placing down a little hot tub out there. But either way, moving over, as you can see, I've now moved on into the inside of the build, and I've started off by almost like the elevator entrance. So where I am building a penthouse apartment, you need to have an elevator, a mailbox, and then also a trash chute. And whenever I seem to build penthouses, I always like to make it so when your Sims walk out the elevator, they're not going to be walking into like their kitchen. They're not going to be walking into like the dining room, because the mailman comes up here. Random townies come up here. Sometimes if you have a Sim that is a celebrity, paparazzi will come up here. I actually learnt my lesson once, and this is why I did it, because once upon a time I had this Sim and she was a 5-star celebrity and she lived in a penthouse apartment. This was one that I built honestly like 7 years ago or something, but I had the elevator in the front room, so random paparazzi Sims would literally just walk into her house. And so ever since then I make it essential, so whenever I do penthouse apartments, you have like a little separate door area, and if you fancy, you can lock the door and random townies aren't just going to walk in. But by the little elevator entrance, I placed down the trash chute, I placed down a mailbox. I also popped down a little pipe decoration, because on the inside of this penthouse, I tried to make it a bit industrial, and that came from the industrial loft kit. And so yeah, I popped that down, and I also placed down a filing cabinet that we got from the new kit, merged in tons of different like letters and posts on top of it, as well as popping a little armchair next to it. But either way, moving over, as you can see, I've now moved on into the inside of the actual penthouse and I'm currently coming in and decorating the kitchen. So in here, I must admit, when I came in and I started filming this room, I didn't know what kind of route that I wanted to go down, because I knew that I wanted this house, or this penthouse apartment, whatever, it's a house basically in it, but I knew that I wanted this place to have some sort of industrial feel to it, just because the exterior is very industrial, and so I knew that I wanted to have industrial touches on the inside, but I didn't know how industrial that I wanted to go. And I did initially start off by decorating the lounge and the dining room, and I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't like the way I was decorating it, and so I thought, do you know what, I'm going to go decorate the kitchen, see how that pans out, and then kind of decorate the rest of the house or penthouse around the kitchen, if that makes any sense. But in here, as you can see, I decided to go for these base game counters, and I decided to use a fridge that we got from the Home Chef Hustle Stuff pack, and then I use a separate oven and hob, and they are from the Dream Home Decorator game pack. But in at the kitchen sink, where I'm thinking an artist lives here, I imagine this artist, by the way, has always got like a paintbrush tucked behind their ear. I imagine they've always got their hair up in a claw clip. They always wear like baggy clothes and probably wear flip-flops. Like, they are just a very cool sim. But I imagine that they've always got paintbrushes in their hands, in their pockets, and sometimes they might be downstairs and might just have a paintbrush. And so I merged in some different paintbrushes and paint cups into the kitchen sink. If you're curious, it's still fully functional. Your Sims can wash their hands, they can get water, they can wash their dishes. It is just like that extra little touch for realism purposes. But in here, as you can see, I'm currently playing around with loads of different shelves and almost like poles and posts and stuff, trying to make a somewhat kitchen cart. So in here, when I was decorating, I filtered by the artist studio kit just to see if there was any decorations, any furniture pieces that I could try and incorporate into the kitchen to, you know, already get a head start that, you know, an artist lives here. But when I was filtering by this new DLC, I noticed that there is this little art cart that comes with the pack, and I saw it and I thought that would make quite nice for a kitchen cart. But then I looked at it again and there was already too much pre-existing clutter built into the cart itself for me to put my own clutter on top of. And so I basically took the idea and tried to make my own. If I'm honest, it just ends up being a bit of a shelving unit, and I feel like the idea was there, but I just didn't put it too much into fruition. But I mean, you can kind of see what I'm talking about. Sometimes in kitchens, people will have like shelving units, and they might have fruit and vegetables or spare plates or plants or, you know, random bits and bobs that you have in your kitchen. Sometimes people have on little bar carts, but mine's not a cart because it doesn't have wheels, it's just a post. But I still like the idea of it. I still like the thought of it. But either way, as well, in here, I ended up placing down a little coffee making station where I was thinking the sim that lives here, they're an artist. I imagine they stay up late. Like, they are up until the early AM doing all these different paintings. And so I felt like I'm going to have so many different mugs in this build, I have to have it. So there's going to be at least a kettle or a coffee making station. But with the cozy bistro kit, we've got this lovely coffee making station. It comes in this really nice red colour, and so I thought with the red brick on the walls it might go quite nicely. And so yeah, I boxed a little coffee machine in the corner, also placed down some extra mugs next to it to make it look like they're mugs that are going to be used to make cups of coffee. But also in this room as well, I placed down a base game like stove top on top of, you know where I've placed down the little hob? On top of it, I placed down this base game stove top, and I wanted to talk about this because recently, literally this week, there was a massive base game update, and I saw that apparently we've now got 650 new swatches of base game items in the game, and one of them is that hood stovetop. What do you call it? I don't know, like a hood? I feel weird calling it a hood, but it's at that, right? Because the thing is, we've had that in the game, I'm pretty sure, since launch. It's a 10-year-old item. It only ever had one swatch, which I'm not going to lie to you, I thought was quite an ugly colour, and so I never used it. I always use the other base game ones, but recently, this week, we've got this base game update, and they finally gave us that hood. What? They finally gave us it in a nice colour, and I had to use it, and so I placed it down, and then you would have seen I placed down a little plant on top of it, as well as some spices, an odd pen, a little book, like random knickknacks, random stuff in there. But I basically just finished off that cart, and then I placed down some wall decorations, but I did decide to switch out the wall decorations when I was playtesting, just because I placed down a few onto that kitchen back wall, but then I felt like it felt a little bit empty. It just wasn't as interesting as the other walls, and so I decided to place down a chalkboard It's one that we got from the Get Together expansion pack, and it looks like it's got all these different like tallies on it, and so I thought that maybe this sim is having a competition with their mates. I don't know what over. I mean, the only thing I can think of right now is there is a dance floor outside, like I mentioned. Maybe the artist sim. I imagine that they throw a lot of parties. I mean, there is a lot of different party stuff within this build. Not like party essentials clutter, like I mean just like actual activity wise. We've got dance floors, we've got multiple different bars and like all sorts. But maybe this sim likes to have dancing competitions with their friends. I'm not sure. Also, by the way, I feel like I need to mention this, but if I do sound a little bit delulu, I haven't slept. The 2 new kits came out last night at 6 p.m. for me, and I just basically haven't hit the pillow yet. I stayed up all night building this penthouse apartment. Don't get me wrong, I thoroughly enjoyed it and I wouldn't have it any other way. Like, this was so satisfying to build and just to decorate, and I had a lot of fun. But if I do scuff up my words a little bit more than usual, half the time I say my own name wrong, but if I scuff up my words a little bit more, I'm trying my best, I'm so sorry, but either way, moving over. As you can see, I've now moved on into the quite open plan living room and then also dining room. Now, I kind of started off by the dining table area, but then I didn't know what chair that I wanted to go for because I wanted to follow through with this like darker wood tone in here. And so I placed down the table. The one that I use is from base game. I liked that one because, I know you can't see it right now, but I liked the one I used because it's got some like scuffs on it and it seems a little bit more like weathered, a little bit more like torn up and stuff, and so I placed it down. But then there was like 3 or 4 chairs that I was deciding between, and so I thought, do you know what, I'm gonna go decorate the lounge room, get that figured out, see how that looks, and then kind of decorate the dining room table off that. And I mean, it worked. I love both the living room area as well as the dining room area. For the living room, I placed down 2 industrial loft kit sofas. At one point I tried to do a love seat that we got from the Crystal Creation stuff pack. It was like a brown love seat, but it wasn't doing it for me, and so I decided to switch it back to the 3-seater sofa. But then also in the little like TV room space, I decided to make it so the TV is on an art easel. Now, I know it probably doesn't look like it because the TV that I placed down doesn't look like a regular TV. I feel like I always mention this whenever I do like that TV in a build, but basically from the Modern Lux kit, we've got this one TV and it looks like a painting when it's turned off, and I love it so dearly. And so sometimes what I do is I place down the TV, but I pop it onto an art easel, and I felt like for an artist penthouse apartment, I had to do it. Like, at one point, I placed down a retro TV, and then I thought, I was like, hang about, what am I doing? Like, literally, we've got an art TV. Place down the art TV. And so I placed down the art TV instead, and I just love it. And if you're curious, and if you want to do that yourself, basically what you do is you place down an art easel, whatever one you fancy, we've got a few in the game, but you place down the art easel, and then you draw a diagonal wall, and then you place down the TV onto the wall. You then delete the wall, and then with the tool mod, you can move the TV away and make it so it looks like it's being balanced on the art easel. Now, I will say, to get it to be completely accurate, to make it not look like it's weirdly floating, I would highly recommend using the tool mod. But if you're someone that maybe doesn't play with mods, maybe can't play with mods, maybe you're someone that plays on console or something, I have previously, and it was a few months ago, but I have previously uploaded a room onto my gallery with every single art easel that we've got in the game. Actually, no, I haven't, because now we've got a new art easel. I'll do that for you. I'll do that as well. But I previously, all the different base game art easels that we've got in the game, I had uploaded a room and I'd already pre-rotated the TV so it was sitting like perfectly and you wouldn't have to adjust it at all. But yeah, if you're someone that plays on console and you're interested in that, you can find that on my gallery. But I mean, I say if you play on console, even if you don't play with mods in your game, I always think of people that can't play with mods, because I never used to be able to play with mods or CC in my game. And I remember when The Sims 4 first came out, I used to watch so many different like LPs and all these different videos that had custom content or mods in, and I used to have such bad FOMO over it because I couldn't have it because my laptop just would not. It was literally, if I turned that on with mods in, it might as well just be in space, like the noise that it would make. And so I always just feel for people that can't play with mods or console. But yeah, either way, that was a complete side subject. Moving over. As you can see, I pretty much just finished up the lounge dining room area. I ended up settling on the cats and dogs chairs, just like plain bog standard wooden chairs, but they do the job. And then on the dining room table as well, I need to mention this because it does feel a bit bizarre, but there was a thought process behind it. I don't know if you would have catched it, but I placed down these little paper bags onto the dining room table, and I was thinking it's pastries, and the sim that lives in this penthouse apartment on like a Sunday invites their friends over for coffee and pastries. Now, this is going to be such a bizarre reference, and I highly doubt you're going to know what I'm talking about, but basically, maybe like a year and a half ago, I saw this TikTok of someone that lived in New York City. And basically, they had this really fancy coffee machine, and on a Sunday, they would invite all of their friends over, even if their friends didn't know each other, like even if they had like different groups of friends, they would invite their friends over and they would have coffee and pastries, and they would kind of like mingle and meet new people and stuff. I just thought that was a lovely idea, and it's just stuck in my head. And so when I was doing the dining room section, I thought about it, and I was thinking, well, we don't have any pastry decorations, but sometimes when you go to a bakery, you can get stuff taken away in like a little grab and go bag. And so I placed down some lunch boxes that we got from the Parenthood debug menu, thinking that they had like croissants and, you know, pan au chocolats and stuff inside of it. And then I also placed down like a little menu as well. I was thinking maybe the sim that lives in this penthouse, their coffee machine, the one that I use from Cozy Bistro, maybe it's really fancy and you can make all sorts, cappuccinos, lattes, mochas, all different types of coffees, and yeah, maybe they do a similar sort of thing. But I just thought it was a really lovely idea. And yeah, like I said, I saw this TikTok literally like a year and a half ago, and it's always just stayed in my mind. I think I might have already done a build with this idea, or like implemented this idea into a previous build, but regardless, I think it's really sweet. And I imagine that the sim that lives in this penthouse, really lovely woman, so yeah, I imagine that she would do something like that. But one thing that I did want to mention about the lunch bags, unfortunately and quite annoyingly, for some reason when you download this build off the gallery, they won't be there and they would have disappeared. There is certain debug menu items in the game, and that is one of the very few of them, that when you place it down into a build, it won't transfer through. And so if you download this build off the gallery, the lunch bags or boxes, what are they? Paperback, them things, they're going to be gone. But if you want to follow through with the storytelling purposes, you could definitely just rebag them back in. But I mean, if you don't want to, you could just leave it so it is completely bare and there's just coffee mugs on the table. But either way, as well in the lounge room, I also swapped out the bookcase that I initially placed down. I don't know if you would have seen, but I placed down this one that we got from the Crystal Creation Stuff pack. And I feel like I always say this whenever I place that down into a build, but the swatches on that bookcase just irritate me because they're not proper true colours. It looks like they've got some sort of like glaze over them or some like sort of weird fade. And so I placed it down and I merged in some books as well as like a bust of a head. And I thought I was happy with it. And then I was looking at it and I was like, I don't actually like it. And so I decided to delete the bookcase. And then on the wall next to it, I placed down a little bar. I just basically removed the bookcase and replaced it with that bar. And then where the bar was placed, you know what I mean, where that was, I then replaced that with a get-together wardrobe and then just offered that as well. You would have quickly just seen me do the tiny little greenhouse downstairs. It was very short and sweet. It was just a few different planters, but now moving over, as you can see, I've now moved on onto the upstairs portion and currently coming in and decorating the bathroom. So in here, the bathtub that I've placed, don't worry, this is not the one that doesn't work. The one that doesn't work is in the upstairs level. It ends up being the exact same bathtub. Like I tried to make it look like the bathrooms were decorated at the same time, but in this bathroom I placed down this spa day bathtub, and then also in that room I placed down a toilet that we got from the Fitness Stuff pack. And then I tried to do some sort of like fancy sink unit, and I've done this trick before and I love the way it looks. But basically I get this side table, it's from the Dine Out game pack, it's like a marble effect, and we've got this one sink from the Island Living expansion pack. I basically placed down the side table, and then using the tool mod I elevate it down slightly into the ground, and then I pull the sink out ever so slightly, and then that way it looks like the sink is almost built in to the marble side table. I just think it looks so lovely, and so yeah, I decided to do that in this bathroom. And then over here you can currently see I'm coming in and figuring out this walk-in shower situation. Now I'm not a massive fan of the different showers that we've got in The Sims 4. I've said this so many different times, but if I can have the room to have a walk-in shower and I can make my own shower, I prefer it, because some of the different showers that we've got in the game, I don't either like the colours of them, I don't like the pattern of them, even just like the overall look and the style of them. It's just not my cup of tea. And so if ever I've got the room to have a walk-in shower, I'll always try to opt for it, and that is pretty much what you can see me doing right over here. So in here I placed down the shower that we got from the Lovestruck expansion pack, and then I placed down these little like glass tiles, the ones that I've used from Island Living, and basically I rotated the tiles 90 degrees and then it put one on top of each other to make it look like some sort of like divider or glass door. I then found these blank signs from the Dine Out game pack and rotated them and merged them into the wall. But I purposely tried to leave it almost like a little bit of a cube, and in that cube I tried to make it look like some sort of shower shelf. If you're curious, I have, like I said, I've fully playtested this whole entire lot. There is no issues with like the signs merging in the shower. Your Sims, they don't even know this there. But yeah, I placed down what I was thinking could be shampoo and conditioner. Maybe there is some sort of like shower gel in there. Maybe there is, I don't know what else you have in your shower, but like all different like shower stuff. I placed it down on the little shelf. And then also I found this shower caddy decoration. It's meant to be for the wall, but I sized it down and then kind of like merged it into the sign. And so on this little shelf, it looks like there's like a little loofah and like a little bar of soap hanging off it, which it just looks so lovely. But yeah, I finished off the bathroom and now I'm moving over into the first bedroom, which is the artist's bedroom. So in here, this is kind of like the main bedroom of the house, although like I said, I imagine that when this artist purchased this penthouse apartment, this was kind of like a secondary bedroom, maybe like a guest bedroom or something, but where they decided to pretty much like transform the whole entire third floor space into their art studio. This is now the main bedroom of his penthouse, but in here I decided to use the industrial loft kit bed, and then currently I've got this like mural wallpaper. I quickly just deleted it, but I've got this mural wallpaper, which is a new one that we got from the Storybook Nursery kit. Now I will say, we got 2 new kits that came out yesterday, and I don't think I ended up placing down any stuff from the Storybook kit within this build. Both of the kits are very different from one another, and they're very stylized towards a certain theme or kind of like certain things. So obviously the nursery kit is for nurseries, it's for babies, for infants, and it's got a lot of like cutesy stuff. It's also quite, I want to say fancy, like it's quite, if I imagine Judith Ward having a baby, she would kit out that nursery with all the different stuff that we got from this new kit. Don't get me wrong, I really like it, but it's very stylized, and I felt like it was quite hard to use in an artist industrial loft. And so yeah, I don't think I end up using anything from the second kit, but I definitely want to use it in some upcoming builds, because like I said, there are some really beautiful pieces within this new Storybook Nursery kit, but it didn't fit the theme for this build, and so I didn't just want to force myself to use it just because it's new, do you know what I mean? But at one point I did try and use the wallpaper, because the wallpaper that we've got from this new Storybook kit is beautiful. It's like a mural of, I think it's a Sims Pleasant View off memory, but it's lovely. It's got little hot air balloons and everything. But I tried to use it both downstairs and then also in the bedroom in this build, and I felt like I was just trying to, and it weren't working. Deleted it and replaced it with a brick wallpaper. But regardless, in the master bedroom, I ended up placing down a wardrobe in the corner. The one that I've used is from the industrial loft kit. I placed down some like painted canvases. I also placed down like a bookcase and an armchair, random knickknacks in that room, like a random bust in the corner, and like loads of different collection of what looks to be paintbrushes and all these different cups and stuff. But now moving over, as you can see, I've now moved on into the next room, which is the second bedroom. Now in here, it's a bit of a stretch to call it a bedroom, but it's a room and it's got a bed in. Your Sims can sleep in that bed, and if you want to, you could have maybe like a teenager living here with maybe like their big sister or something, and maybe this is their room. But I liked the idea of the artist Sim that lives in this penthouse. She lives here alone. Imagine she's a lady, but imagine she lives here alone, and maybe at one point she used to have a roommate, and maybe this is where the roommate used to sleep, or maybe she still has a roommate, but her roommate is maybe in between worlds. Maybe sometimes she's in the world of Ciudad Enamorada, maybe sometimes she pops over to Newcrest. Like maybe she's one of them people that just kind of like float about. And so this room, I tried to make it into a bit of a bedroom, but then also a bit of a storage bedroom. Now, I know it doesn't look like it, but I promise you, hand on my heart, you see these canvases that I'm moving onto the bed? Would you believe that your Sims can actually still sleep in this bed? Because basically I had the idea of maybe sometimes there's not enough space in the studio upstairs to keep all the different paintings or keep all the different art supplies and stuff. And so all the different stuff that the artist Sim would use day to day kind of leaks downstairs into this spare guest bedroom. And so in here I placed down boxes, I placed down trunks, I placed down like a literal art drying rack in the corner. I then also placed down like a chair that's got like a wine bottle and a bowl of fruit and like random bits and bobs that your Sims might use if they're an artist. And we have this one base game item, and it's a load of different canvases, and I thought I'm gonna see if I can rotate them and pop them onto the bed, because to me maybe they're paintings that have recently just dried out and they're yet to be sold. Maybe they've just been put onto an auction site or something, but they're currently being held in that bedroom. And what I basically did using the tool mod is I rotated it and I popped them down, but where they were kind of meant to be leaning against the wall, there was some weird like gap in between it. And so to fill the gap, I made it look like the canvases were leaning on, I think, like a filing cabinet as well as a pillow. And to me, it looks really realistic. And then when I got my playtester sim to go into that room, I did not think it was going to be usable because it shouldn't be usable. But no, I promise you, your Sims, they can sleep in that bed. I don't know how the maths of this game works sometimes, but yeah, they can sleep in that bed if they fancy. But either way, moving over, as you can see, I'm now coming in and decorating the upstairs hallway. So in here, I end up placing down 2 different wall decals as kind of like a graffiti thing onto the walls. I have noticed, by the way, in most recent expansion packs or even just like DLC releases, we seem to be getting a lot more like decals rather than actual artwork. The decals that I'll use in here, the black one behind the bookcase, that is from, I think, the Horse Ranch expansion pack. But then the one that's got a little bit of red in, that is from the Industrial Loft kit. And would you believe it, and I completely forgot about this up until this point, but you know how we've just got this artist studio kit? Don't get me wrong, I love it dearly, but it's actually really ironic. We didn't get a single piece of framed artwork in this new DLC. We did get one new wall decoration, and it seems to be like different paintings like different sketches that a sim has done. But we didn't get any new framed artwork, which I just feel like we are severely lacking so much at this point in the game. Like with all these new DLC releases, we're getting like stuff to stick on your walls, but not proper framed prints. And yeah, I was really hoping that we might get some more artwork from this DLC, but we didn't. I mean, I may do. And we have still got some few pieces in the game which I do really like. And we have this one painting, which is from the Lovestruck expansion pack, and I use it a few times in this build. It's beautiful. I used it in this hallway in one particular area. It looks like it's got 2 Sims, I think, in their swimsuits, but I also use a version of it downstairs in the lounge room, and my favourite version of it in the like initial entrance to the build is this man who's standing there with his belly out in his underwear. Love that painting dearly. And I was a little bit hesitant to use it in like the initial hallway into this penthouse apartment because I knew that I might want to use it somewhere else, but I did decide to keep it. But yeah, I just thought it was really ironic how we've got an artist kit but we've got no art in it. But either way, as you just seen, in the hallway I ended up placing down a series of different like decorations, like plants, a random chair. I also placed down like a bookcase as well as like a chess table, nice little seating area. It's just it's a hallway. Your Sims will walk through it. It's not too much to write home about, but either way, moving over. As you can see, I've now moved on to the upstairs portion, and I'm now currently coming in and decorating my favourite area in this whole entire build, which is the artist studio. Sitting here, I just love this room so dearly. This is probably one of my favourite rooms that I've decorated in such a long time, and I'm just so madly in love with it. You can see my decorating process for this room was pretty much, I came in and just started plonking everything out onto the floor because there was so much stuff and there was so many different furniture objects, so many different decorations, so many different gameplay things that I knew that I wanted to use in this room, and I just didn't want to forget about them. So my decorating process for this one was pretty much just shove it onto the floor and I'll find itself like a little home later on, if you get what I mean. But if you are curious, by the way, of the way that I did the glass roof and made it so your Sims can actively go in there, I used a series of different archways because I realised that when I was actually doing this part of the build, like actually figuring out how to make this bit of the roof into a room, I was yapping over it, and so apologies for that. But basically, the way that you do this kind of thing in the game, so you start off, and this is going to sound so silly saying, but you start off by literally just building a roof, like just selecting whatever roof you fancy. I've used the one which is, like a bit of a triangle. I've used that one, but I'm pretty sure you could probably do this with the A-framed ones as well. But you build a roof and then select whatever roof pattern you want. I went for glass because I wanted it to be more so a window than an actual roof, but it does also function to be a roof. But you can select like a metal pattern, or maybe like a thatched roof or something. And then once you've done that, you'll have some sort of wall on one side of the roof. Now with this wall, all you got to do, and honestly it's really simple, just find an archway, do an archway, don't do a door because Sims won't be able to go through it, but get an archway, size it down, and then move them together so there is no like little bit of wall in between it. And that's literally it. It's honestly, it is so simple. Now, I will say the timing of this base game update that I was talking about coming out could not be more perfect, because I've wanted to do a build where I have some sort of roof like this in the game for so long now. I've seen so many other people do it, and it always looks so cool when other people do it. And I've wanted to do it for myself. But the thing is, with this kind of thing, you have to rely on having an archway that is going to be big enough to fit it, because you can place down an archway, but if it's only a single tile and you've got like 4 tiles that you need to blank out, it's going to be a bit of an issue if you need to place down a 4 altogether. And so I placed down 1 2-tile archway and then 1 3-tile archway. But the ones that I've used literally just got implemented into the game this week with this free base game update. These new archways which I've used are some of the first floor to ceiling archways that we have got in the game. I don't even know what I would have used if we didn't have this patch update this week. And so the timing that we got this patch update to run alongside with these DLCs and have this artist studio, honestly, is so perfect. You couldn't write it. Normally, me and timings with Sims packs doesn't normally work out. This time round, it very much worked out. But I basically placed down 1 of these new 2-tile archways, which goes floor to ceiling, and then 1 3-tile one, and then basically size them down to 0.10 with a tool mod. I will say, if you don't have the tool mod, you can still size them down, but you're going to see them much more, whereas if you size them down with a tool mod, I do 0.10. You can do it smaller, but the thing is, whenever I do builds like this and I put them onto the gallery, I never want you to run into the issue of maybe one day for some reason you don't want your Sims to have this massive like glass roofy bit in this penthouse, and maybe one day you want to fence it off. Maybe you just want to delete it altogether and replace it with balcony. I then don't want you to have the hassle of trying to zoom in so closely and try and find the archways, because if you size it down by like 0.01, you're never going to find that. Like literally, you will never find that. And so I sized the archways down with the tool mod to 0.10. They're small enough so you can't see them, but if you really zoom in, they're probably about the size of a ladybird in game. Like they're tiny, but I purposely painted them white as well, just so they're a little bit more easier to identify. But yeah, that is pretty much how you do it. Like I said, it is really simple. And also I feel like it's important to point out, because I've spoken about the tool mod quite a lot in this voiceover, at least I feel like, but if you want to download this build of the gallery and you don't have a tool mod in your game, you don't have any mods in your game, maybe you play on console, it will still look the exact same. The way that the tool mod and the Better Build By mod work is you can use it to like manipulate objects in the game and get things to be a very particular way, but it doesn't change when you pop it onto the gallery. Like that size down archway, if you're on console, say you're on Xbox, it's still going to be sized down if you download it off the gallery. Hopefully that makes sense. But yeah, it's a really easy way to do it, but it looks really good. But either way, as you would have seen in the artist studio, I ended up placing down a few different planters in the glass roof bit, as well as an armchair. I also placed down a few different art easels, and then on the floor I placed down some like paint splatters, and then I also placed down like loads of different cluttered decorations, just all the stuff pretty much that we have got in the artist studio kit. It's in that room somewhere. Like everything that we got from this new DLC, I purposely made a point to place it down at somewhere in this build. But you can see over here, I have now moved over into the second bathroom, which this is the one where the bath don't work. Now, I know for gameplay purposes, it's probably not the most ideal, but in my head for gameplay, if I was to play in this penthouse, which I might actually, now, I'm in one of them moods, when you just want to create a new household, like create a new save file, I'm in one of them moods, and I want to create an artist sim that could live here, because, for a single sim, it's ideal, it's only a 20 by 15 knot, but I think for gameplay purposes, for only having a single sim, it's not the worst thing in the world, because there is a bathtub, there is a shower downstairs, plus if your sims need a wee, there is still a functioning toilet and a sink in that bathroom. But over here, as you can see, I'm just coming in now and decorating what I think used to be the wardrobe, or like a walk-in wardrobe in this penthouse, but it's now been converted into a bit of a makeshift candle making station and then woodworking room. Now, from the new DLC, we did get a new woodworking table like design, which I could not be more happy about, because we've had the same woodworking table in the game since I think the Outdoor Retreat game pack came out. I believe we initially got it from that DLC, but over time they decided to patch it in to be base game. But now we finally have another one, and it's got all these different scuffs and like tubs of paint underneath it. It looks so realistic, and I just absolutely love it. But other than that, I'm pretty much going to go around the build, finish it off by placing down this jeweler's bench, and then also merging in some posters. If you're curious, by the way, I've fully placed this, it's fully functioning. But other than that, I'm going to make some final adjustments, and that is pretty much it. So anyway guys, I'm going to end this voiceover right here. As always, you can download this build via the gallery. My gallery ID is Jessicapie, or just search for the hashtag Jessicapie, or just the hashtag Jessicapie. As always, thank you guys so much for watching this video, and as always, if you do like my content, then please do subscribe, and hopefully I will see you in my next Sims 4 speedrunning video. Bye guys.